All right. Yeah, let me double check that I'm on the right server. Yeah, okay, I'm on the right place. Okay, very good. So good morning again. On behalf of the Columbus Karma Take-Some Choling Tibetan Buddhist Meditation Center. My name is Kathy Wesley, and I'm the resident teacher here. And it's my delight to welcome you to our Zoom room today, where we're going to be meeting with Lama Losang of Gainesville Karma Take-Some Choling, who is a certified doctor of acupuncture, and he's also an Oriental medicine specialist and has his certifications in so many areas I can't enumerate them all. But he also completed the 3-year, 3-month, 3-day retreat at our Karma Ling 3-year retreat center in Delhi, New York, with Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche as his retreat master. And since then, he has taken both novice and full ordination as a Buddhist monk. So he's a monk, a physician, a healer, and is a teacher of both the Dharma of the Buddha and also what we might call the truth and Dharma of physical well-being. And so he's given us several courses already in the golden 8-petaled Lotus system of healing, and he's going to continue that today. Once again, I really want to emphasize how lucky we are to be meeting on this day. We're seeing a Buddhist monk on a Buddhist holiday because this is the observance of the Buddha's performance of miracles. So it's one of what they call multiplier days in the Tibetan Buddhist calendar, in which the positive and negative effects of actions are multiplied. So it's why they like to do lots of practice on days like this and not do a lot of things that are negative. So if you can fill your day with positive things, this is going to be the very best use of your time. And so I'd like to welcome all of you here and let you know we are recording for the future. And I think I will welcome Lama Losang to our Zoom room and ask you to turn the wheel of Dharma for us.
Thank you, Lama. My pleasure on this day. It is also meritorious for me to be teaching on this day. So thank you all for joining us. And as Lama Kathy said, this is the celebration of the Buddhist Miracles Day. It started with Losar 15 days ago. And over these 15 days, the Buddha was teaching, and before we began, she was mentioning that each of the days there was a miracle, and this was during a debate, which he won. So we celebrate this Buddha's miracle days. And not only have our good deeds increased, but they're increased by 100 million, it is said. Sometimes the numbers are fantastic, but it is said 100 million. So, this is also a fundraiser. So I want you to know that you are all billionaires right now. So this is a special day to make offerings, and towards and Lama will tell us a little bit more about the progress of the Columbus KTC. So making donations, on these days, the nuns and monks would make an offering, because it's multiplied 100 million times. A dollar would carry the blessing of a million or 100 million. So these wise practitioners donated to their teachers and lamas and centers for the benefit of all beings. So when you donate to a center like this in particular, you are donating to build a facility where all people can benefit. And the first of the paramitas, the perfections, and I think you just completed a teaching at your KTC on the Gampopa's jewel ornament of liberation, and have, I think those may be available online as well. But the first perfection is the perfection of generosity. And I'm just going to, we also are working on this book by Gampopa. And the perfection of generosity that was translated here by Khenchen Trungpa Rinpoche. I'm just going to read a paragraph. The first paramita is generosity. The reason generosity is taught first is because bodhisattvas need to act in a way that is beneficial to other beings. In order to really help other beings, they must first establish the right connection with others. They must have a positive relationship with people. What makes a relationship positive is to help in different ways. 3 ways. To help temporarily through giving them the things they need, food, shelter, those things that we need as human beings in this life. Also, all sentient beings, so animals, to give a handful of food to benefit them at that physical level. That's the first one. And through giving protection from fear, to protect them is the second way. And the third way is through the generosity of giving teachings, through Dharma. And that is considered the supreme generosity. So when you give to the center, for example, where the teachings are offered by many wonderful lamas, rinpoches, and teachers of our precious Kagyu lineage, you are feeding them in a way that is superior to all the others. You're giving them the opportunity to hear and practice the Dharma. So gifts to the centers, the lamas, are ways that we practice the supreme generosity of Dharma. So to carry on with what Khenchen Trungpa Rinpoche said, these different offerings, these kinds of offerings or different ways of being generous will bring happiness and satisfaction to others. Once this feeling is established, it is possible to gradually lead them on the path of Dharma and finally to guide them until the achievement of the ultimate result, which is Buddhahood. That is why generosity is taught first, since it provides the means to achieve this. So that is that's what Gampopa said, and that is how Khenchen Trungpa Rinpoche opens his discussion to the paramitas, the perfections, the virtues, and the first being generosity. So this is the time to extend in whatever way is possible for you to help support the Dharma. And we'll have a little bit of discussion. Some of you may not know the progress of the Columbus KTC. And Lama Kathy is going to give us an update before we finish.
Thank you, Lama Losang. Really, really appreciate your teaching on generosity today. It's really auspicious to be receiving teachings on the paramitas on a special day like this. And I want to let everyone know that that thus far we have raised $500 through this event today. And thank you so much, because the karmic effects of it are doubled, and also because we still have a matching fundraiser going on right now. It will be doubled. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I'm going to invite everyone to turn their minds toward the Dharma and to listen with interest and devotion. And then we'll begin now. And then at the somewhere around the top of the next hour, there will be a short break during which we'll pause the recording and let people get up and move around for a few minutes. And then after that, Lama will present the second part of his program. If you have questions that come up for you while Lama is speaking, we will be muting microphones. So it would be great if you wanted to ask a question, you could type it into chat, and we'll pause every few minutes to take questions from chat first. And then after that, we'll ask people to unmute their microphones and ask questions at that time. So thank you.
All right, a couple of preliminary prayers. We'll take refuge. Kunchok sumdang sawasum chatne namla chapsuchi. Drokun sanje lagochir jangju choktu semkelo. Kunchok sumdang sawasum chatne namla chapsuchi. Drokun sanje lagochir jangju choktu semkelo. I go for refuge to the 3 jewels and the 3 roots. the sources of refuge. In order to establish all beings in Buddhahood, I generate a mind of supreme awakening. Okay, so we will pick up where we left off last time. We're talking about the golden eight-petaled lotus of Asian wisdom. It is, we say medicine, but it is really the wisdom. When we talk about the things that lead us to complete enlightenment, it is both prajna, wisdom, and generosity in the way of merit. So merit and wisdom are the things that we have to balance, and that are considered the two wings of the bird that take us to the goal of enlightenment. So this is number 4 of our, this is our third session, but the 4th of the 8 petals. We have, our first session was on meditation. And this is the way it was taught in Asia. This is the training of a physician, actually. And all of these 8 petals are an aspect of a physician's training, beginning with meditation. One has to have the mind of awakening, the bodhicitta, or the quality of wanting to be of benefit to beings. That is the foundation of a healer, a person, a bodhisattva. And so meditation comes first, and everything downstream is a reflection of that realization with those things, prajna, wisdom, and loving kindness and compassion that leads to merit and progress on the path. So the first one is meditation. The second one we talked about was qigong, the exercises that cultivates qi and the flow of blood that nourishes each cell with oxygen and nutrition. So we talked about the qigong, and we talked about diet and nutrition. So unfortunately today, with our farming practices, our use of pesticides, insecticides, fungicides, a variety of other things, the planet is in such a state that often the quality of our food and our culture leads to malnutrition. Even though we're eating a lot, we're not getting the nutrition we need. So we talked about diet, and His Holiness the Karmapa has asked, that we refrain from taking life, and we try to be more vegetarian. If you're a meat eater, try to use less. And if there is a way that we can be compassionate to animals, that is best. That is the teaching of the Buddha, is to have a compassionate mind and show loving kindness to all sentient beings. That includes animals. So it's when we cultivate loving kindness and compassion and then we kill animals and eat them, there's something incompatible with that. But it can be a medicine, and we can use those animal products as a way to nourish ourselves if we need them, and they can be used as medicine. But we have so many different qualities and capacities for diet and eating now that we don't really have to be dependent on animal products. And so to wean ourselves off gradually is, you'll find, more in line with the cultivation of loving kindness and compassion. We look at all beings with that, and we want to support them, nourish them, and take care of them as well. So those are the first 3: meditation, qigong, and Tai Chi. Both of those are movement exercises to cultivate qi, the vital life force. And so this is in a descending order, actually, starting with taming the mind and creating the auspicious circumstances for a relaxed, tame, and ultimately working towards Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. That is the number 1 focus. And as a way to, and we have to have a physical form to do that. So this precious human birth is considered very auspicious, because we have all of the things we need to hear, to practice, and to realize the teachings of the Buddha. But we do need a mind that is workable. We do need a body that is receptive and healthy. And we want to live a long time, so we can practice for as long as we can to benefit beings. So we use Qigong and Tai Chi as the vehicle to strengthen and maintain body health, along with diet, nutrition. Now we're talking about massage or a variety of acupressure, tuina, or there's a number of names of body massage that you may know that can be useful. Some of you may be familiar with tapping. It's the using of particular points on the body, and they're just tapped to stimulate the flow of qi in the body. We are going to use acupressure. You can stimulate these points in a variety of ways with pressure, with tapping, sometimes with the different tools that can be used to do that. But we're just going to use finger pressure on. I have a booklet of 36 points. We're not going to be able to do 36 points today, but we're going to give an introduction of ways. I'm going to select 12 points that can be used to stimulate the whole body. And I will be using some slides to help us locate and give you the indications for how we use these points. And so if you forget them, you can review this video and look at the slides as well as a reminder. Okay, so to talk about the acupoint pressure therapy, an oriental approach for healing body, mind, and spirit. Each of these points has a very particular personality. It can do what no other point can do. And it is based on the model of traditional Chinese medical system of health and healing. In this system of medicine, some of you may have had some experience with acupressure or acupuncture, where the use of points are done to enhance the flow of qi in the body. In this system of medicine, it is taught that there is a network of channels or pathways called meridians, and throughout the body. It is within these channels that the qi, the vital life force, prana of the body travels. So at the physical level, the flow of qi moves the blood, the lymph, and the fluids, and stimulates the function of muscles and connective tissue, and ensures the appropriate functioning of the internal organs, and also facilitates growth and cellular repair, which is constant. Everything is always in a constant change of and flux. So we want to maintain a certain homeostasis, and we want to keep the body balanced to prevent disease. So this is both curative and preventive. And it also provides, the requirements for a healthy life, such as, the qi in the body provides warmth, movement, and all the transformative functions necessary to maintain proper balance, such as digestion, elimination, hormone regulation, and the nervous system functions. So as we can see, that this is proper balance of our life is responsible for this balance in our physical health. Mental acuity also affects our mental capacity, and emotional well-being and spiritual development. All these things, this system of medicine doesn't discriminate between physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. They are all part and parcel of the totality of our energetic system. So if one is affected, they are all affected. So along the pathways in which the qi travels are found these acupoints. They lie at the superficial level, and the meridians are on the superficial level, but there's a deep connecting pathway to the organs themselves. So when we talk about the lung meridian that begins at the shoulder and runs down to the thumb, we have access to the physical lung through the meridian of the lung, for example. So these points have a direct and profound effect on the flow of the functioning within the pathways, and can possibly affect the related organs and muscle skeletal associations that pathway follows. Again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat if you like, and then we'll open it up to further discussion. But these points have the direct and profound effect on our energetic, how we feel. And so there are special points along the meridians that are particularly powerful, and we're going to use some of those and that are important to all the things that we talked about. And stimulating these with our finger pressure, these special points, is very effective in several ways to balance and harmonize our energy, resulting in better overall health. So these can be done not necessarily when we're just sick or we're having trouble in a particular organ system, but to prevent problems and imbalance. So these can be done at any time. What we'll find sometimes is the points that we'll be using are tender to touch. And generally that means that there is some stagnation, some obstacle in the flow of qi in that meridian. So we pay particular attention to those painful areas. They're called ashi points. But there are the three types of points generally. There are the local points that are near the site of a pain or a discomfort. There are distal points that you will see what I mean as we go through some of the pictures and point locations. We're going to use a point on your foot that is associated with the liver. Now, rubbing this point, you might say, now how is that going to affect the liver, which is underneath the rib cage on the right side? Well, there's a deep connecting pathway that nourishes the liver. And we'll talk about that pathway. It also affects the urogenital system to a degree, and certainly the liver, which is a very important organ. It's a large organ, and it is an enzyme factory. It's very important for your digestion and a variety of things. And when we come to these things, I will elucidate the importance of some of these points and how they affect our health and well-being. So there's the local points that are near the site, and there are points that are distal to the organ itself, and the energy is kind of summoned away from it or brought to it based on these local points, distal points. And there are what are called associated effect points, and those are on the back. We're not going to be doing this associated effect points because it's hard to do these points on your back yourself. So when I teach these points, generally they are done on ourselves, but then we also do them on someone else. It has a totally different experience. We have to palpate the point and feel the location. There's an anatomical location for these points, but it is better if we can cultivate a sensitivity that we feel a certain energy at the point. The points are about half of a grain of rice. That's for the acupuncturist. You want to be on the point as much as possible. If you're in the neighborhood, it will help, but not the same as being directly on the point. These are like little windows or doorways to the energy. And if we can tap into that directly, that's best. But it takes a little time to become familiar, both with the sensitivity of a point when you find it and the right application of pressure. So this is based, as I said, it was based primarily on the 36 points that I put together to be done on a regular basis that I was teaching to acupuncturists or massage therapists or those body workers that have made use of this very effectively. So it's an easy to learn and effective system of health and healing, and can address a number of different problems that we may have. Are there any questions right now that we have, Lama?
I'm looking at the chat, and we have had no questions come through on the chat, but this might be a good opportunity for folks who have questions to ask them, or if you want to make sure that Lama covers a particular topic about massage and acupressure that you're interested in, you can also mention that. So you can ask a question or make sure that we cover something that you want to hear. You can unmute your microphone to speak.
All right, and we can do, I'll give you opportunity to do that along the way, but I just want to make sure that you do have an opportunity to ask your questions The next point that I want to mention before we actually get to the points themselves is to how do we find the acupoints. So the easiest and most fundamental method of locating the points is by how they feel. And we first use the anatomical landmarks to find the points, and I'll be showing those on the diagrams that I will put up for you shortly. And we use the anatomical landmarks to guide us to the general area. And then we have to, once your fingertips begin to explore the area, it is important to actually feel the point under your finger. And it may feel like a little hollow. It may actually, if you're sensitive to it, it may feel a little damp. It may feel a little tingly under your finger. We usually use the tip of the index finger, or that is usually the most sensitive. We have a lot of nerve endings on the end of our fingers, and just massaging your ends of your fingers. If you saw a map of your brain, the cortex, and how much territory is devoted to your fingertips in terms of your brain anatomy, you would see that if you just massage the tips of your fingers, you'd be waking up your brain, the cortex. So we find the points by palpating them and feeling them under our fingers. So it may feel, as I say, like a little depression or hollow under the skin. Even if you cannot feel the exact point at first, it is sufficient to use the point where you feel the most tension or vibration, or you're just naturally drawn to it. If you're in that anatomical location, trust your instincts for the point, but we do want to try to begin to cultivate that feeling in the fingers. So trust your feeling and the natural inclinations after arriving at the proper anatomical location listed in the points as we're going to go over them. And then these point locations are frequently sites of qi blockage and tension. So especially those found in muscular areas. And there are places where you probably naturally would massage. We're going to use a point in the back of the neck that is a place that you can massage. There's a point on the large intestine meridian at the edge of the nostril where for sinus problems, and we will do those points as well. So I've said that the point is the actual points of the size of about a half a grain of rice, or a small grain of rice. But if you're in the area of the point, about the size of a dime, you will still be able to affect an energetic change there. So as long as you're within that area, you'll be able to release and redirect the qi. So again, we'll use the illustrations as they come up, and we will have them, those will be shown because we are recording, and we will have the screen on there. So if you review it, you'll be able to see the points and their use if you review the video. So don't be concerned if you can't find the exact location of a point immediately. Experimentation and practice is required, as with most things. But trust your judgment and use them. You know, you develop your sensitivity through practice. And, you know, the intensity of the sensations that you may feel vary from point to point with each person. So be patient and persevering, and with experience and practice, locating the points will be easy, and you'll be able to soon master your technique. So the other question, you know, is about applying the pressure to the points. You begin by locating the point with your index finger, as we mentioned. And when you have found the point, apply pressure firmly and deeply. You can use your thumb. You locate it with your index finger, but you can use your thumb or finger or knuckle. There are many tools that you'll see for massage. But I also mentioned you can just tap over the point. That's it's not so much how hard you do it. It's you want to focus your energy there and direct your energy into that point. So your concentration, your projection of chi, imagining a laser light going into that point from your finger. We do have chi, and we can cultivate that chi. Sometimes this is called sword fingers in Tai Chi, and you can just place your fingers over that point. This is a large intestine point, large intestine 4. And direct the chi from your finger into that point. It doesn't require really any pressure. You can just bring the chi. And the important part is your intention. Once again, your intention is important. So imagining the point and directing your force, and you can feel it from your dantian, which is a point that we've talked about when we talked about the qigong or Tai Chi. It's a point 4 finger was below the navel, about 1/3 of the way in the body. And you can feel from that movement center, that sea of chi coming up, going through your fingers and into the point. You can also use a firm, steady pressure and hold it for just a few minutes, or a few seconds actually. And you may feel a little pulsating over that point. And then in places where there's tension, the muscles will fire and relax. So with pressure, we're getting that muscle that has been tense from the pressure. It will fire, the nerve will fire, and then the muscle will relax. It may take several sessions, depending upon the level of tension and that the person carries. We've been storing this tension up for a long time, and it may take a little while to release it. But more pressure doesn't mean better. So in fact, kind of less pressure sometimes with more intention is better. So we don't want to press any point too hard or for too long. And the most important thing is to remain mindful and patient. Sometimes we want to make change in ourselves or in, you can use these with your friends, with your family. And it's amazing the effect that you can have as we go through some of these points and you see what they're used for. As you use them and you become more familiar with them, some of the points you will have kind of you'll be able to build confidence because it works very effectively. So remember that chronic conditions of muscles tensions have taken time to develop and may take several sessions to correct. Nevertheless, once these areas of tension have relaxed, the sensation of pain will stop. Anytime there's pain, there's stagnation in chi and blood. That is the first indication that we have a problem. It's pain. What we can do is release the tension and the pain will subside. All right. And, as you're doing it, make sure that you're not putting more tension in your body as a result. Sometimes we get overly enthusiastic and we really want to do something and we're putting tension in our own body. Keep your body relaxed. The chi flows when you're relaxed. When we're in a state of tension or, it creates blockages. The muscles are constricted. The chi is not moving like it should. Blood is not moving like it should. So internally, continue giving yourself the suggestion to relax. And if you're using a point, see that your arm is relaxed so the chi can flow naturally into the point. So when proper pressure is applied, there may be a good pain that you may feel at the site, and that's fine. So if it's really not a good pain, then you're being too aggressive. So it may be tender to the touch, but feels good when you massage it. That's what we're looking for. That's opening and relaxing it. So both for yourself and if you're working on someone else, be guided by the recipient as to the depth of pressure, and always ask for feedback. How does that feel? How are you doing with that? And for yourself, of course, that's a guide for you too. So correct location will amplify the overall results. So we want to be in the right place. And the pressure along the point affects the flow of qi as we relax the muscle skeletal and area and the meridian. So be patient. The qi will arrive. And as you continue, you'll be able to feel the qi arrive. It may feel warmer. It may feel, as I say, you may even feel a muscle fire and relax. It'll be like a little impulse or a little spasm, and that's releasing and relaxing the area. So, the pressure on the points can be maintained for no more than 30 seconds to a minute at most, according to the patient's need and to their sensitivities. And for general, contraindications, in general, these points are very safe, the ones we're going to be using without any negative side effects. The body is very accommodating to this. But avoid areas of inflammation or where the skin is broken, blistered or swollen. We don't want to apply pressure over those areas. Or over varicosities, bulging vessels, varicose veins for bruises. Areas of edema, sometimes you'll see pitting edema where you press, it stays dented. That is a pitting edema if the kidneys aren't moving the fluids as they should, and we would stay away from that side. And sometimes people would have one-sided pain, and it's you can do both sides, but you may find that the contralateral side to where the pain is more effective than the side the pain is. So we may have a shoulder pain on the right, and you would think maybe doing colon 4. This is the one that I was mentioning on the intersection of the index finger and the thumb, which goes into the shoulder. Sometimes that is used for shoulder pain. But it may be more effective on the contralateral side, on the opposite side of where you have the pain. Anyway, you can experiment with those things as well.
Lama Losang, we have some questions that have accumulated.
Okay, let's go ahead and take those.
Yeah. First of all, Lama, I have a question. So I'm just going to jump in and ask mine first because it's about something that you just said. I would, for the benefit of the camera, I may have to have you raise your hands just a little bit closer to the upper part of your chest to demonstrate yeah, there we go. So, yeah, yeah. And so I'm kind of curious about the tapping and the location of the point that you spoke about earlier. Could you show us again the location of that point?
I actually have a slide that we're going to show it more.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, very good. Well, then now we'll follow up with the questions that were asked in chat. I'm going to ask the technique questions first, and then I'll ask the general philosophy questions second. There is a person who has asked the location of a specific point and wants to know where it's located. That's the C of Qi. Is that 4 fingers below the navel? Question mark.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that one was easy to deal with.
Yeah. And it is called the Sea of Energy because it's a reunion point of many meridians there. And it's on the conception vessel, which is a major sea of energy. There's the conception vessel and the governing vessel that runs along the spine. And all the other 12 meridians flow in and out of that sea of energy. So that is a very powerful point. And it is the point of our movement center. So in the martial arts, we want to sink our energy down, stay grounded, and that is the focus. Is that sea of Qi, the Dantian. There are 3 Dantians: upper, middle, and lower Dantian. So that is the lower Dantian.
Okay, thank you, Lama. So now we have another technique question. The questioner asks. Mentions that you've said that pressure and how much pressure is not important. But then there's the question about Bakwa, B-A-Q-U-A. Is Bakwa then not a part of this method? We were always taught that pressure or force is important depending on the injury or problem. So
Yes, but that also depends on the practitioner. So there is a system of Bagua, and that is, but again, it's more your intention. You can have a soft touch, and it doesn't have to be forceful, even in Bagua. But it is, it is a different application. And there are different schools and different systems of doing acupressure or doing body massage. But you could do the techniques that we're talking about within the Bagua system without any problem.
Thank you, Lama. And then we have one more technique question and then a general philosophy question. The questioner is asking for a point. Could you demonstrate or show a point for blood pressure regulation?
Well, there is no one point. We are going to do a point for blood pressure, actually. And in Chinese medicine, it's either from kidney or liver. Either of those can manifest if there's an imbalance in hypertension. And so there are points for that, but it is really, we're treating the person and not the symptom. This is different from Western medicine, where you're just giving everyone gets, a drug, and we'll see how that works. And if that doesn't work, we'll change it. But in this system of medicine, from the pulses, from the other diagnostic that we do, we can tell where that is coming from, and we treat the underlying imbalance, and then the symptoms subside. So we will be doing some points for blood pressure, because that is such a common problem. But it's not like Western medicine where you're given your lisinopril or whatever the drug of the day is, and they said, go home, see how that works. What we want to do is treat the underlying cause. You're kind of a detective, and you're looking for clues, and the color of the skin, the sound of the voice, a particular colors that you're attracted to, tastes that you're attracted to. So many things point us in the direction of what the underlying or causative factor is in that. So I can't say this point is for blood pressure. It depends upon the person, and it depends upon so many other factors, but there are definitely points for blood pressure, and we are going to be adding some of those to the points we're going to talk about today.
Thank you, Lama. And a couple more questions have come in regarding technique. So I don't know how many more questions you'd like to take this break, but let me ask you one, and then you can decide whether you'd like to move on with the topic and take the remaining questions at the next break, or.
Well, I think we may answer them along the way anyway, but let's take another one.
Okay, well then you can make a note that someone in the audience has asked for a digestion and elimination point to talk about toning one's digestion and elimination. So that's a question for the.
There's 2 points that we're going to do that are the foremost for digestion. That's stomach 36, and the large intestine 4 is the one that I've been talking about here. Is on the large intestine or the colon, and it is called great eliminator, and it stimulates the bowel to eliminate. But there, again, we have to talk about hydration, we have to talk about diet, we have to talk about a number of other things. As Einstein said, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. So there are certain things that are going to help your bowel movement, and that is associated with diet, hydration, and exercise, and so many other things. So they all go together. Again, these acupressure is not seen as a drug that we do this point, this point, and this point, and just. There is some acupuncturists do it that way. It's just based on symptoms. And if you have a headache, there's a cookbook style. You use this point, this point, this point. Or if you have constipation, you use this point, this point, this point. But that is not the highest use of the art. You really have to do the diagnostics that go with it, so you're treating the underlying problem. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, Lama. And in order to make good use of time, there are 2 other questions. One of which is a general question that Lama may have actually addressed in an earlier session, saying that even though this is a a Chinese system? Is it related to any Tibetan systems of healing? That's the first question. And then the second question is a little bit more technical, which is, do the acupressure points also have an element connected to them? So for example, during this iron metal ox year, which in the lunar cycle, is it favorable to massage points that balance the abundance of the metal element inherent in that year? And also, does it have to do with our own personal element year, such as the element year we were born under?
Both of those. I mean, to answer the second one first, it has to do both with your personal feng shui or your personal energy, which is like, astrology. You have your own kind of predispositions based on your energy, and there are particular considerations given the metal ox year. And yes, so the metal is associated with the large intestine and the lungs. So there will be issues with lungs. And usually the lungs, of course, are associated with respiration and taking the pure chi from the heavens. That is our primary source of energy. We can go for a while again without eating and drinking. We can't go long without breathing. And what in the ox year we're going to see is not like it was last year with it was a yang year. This is a yin year. And so the yin energy is different from the yang energy. This is a yin a metal ox year. So what we're going to see is more skin problems than infectious lung kinds of things that are hot and aggressive and inflammatory. This is going to be a slightly different energetic year, but it is still metal, and it is so we want to take care of the lungs, because the skin is seen as a third lung, and it breathes and has its respiration. So we may see more skin allergies, eczema, psoriasis, things like that, the skin related, rather than the really hot, young, aggressive, inflammatory conditions that we were seeing the last year with COVID. And the other question was, I forgot it already.
Oh, the association between Chinese systems and
yes.
Tibetan systems of health.
Yes. And so yes, the Tibetans do use acupuncture, and they use moxibustion, which is also an important part of Chinese medicine and Tibetan medicine. And when we go to the eighth part, which is acupuncture and moxibustion, we'll talk more about that. But that is really when we start getting into, as I say, acupuncture and moxibustion are more like surgery in Chinese medicine and Tibetan medicine. It's when you can't do it with diet, nutrition, herbs, then you have to resort to commanding the energy more dramatically. So yes, it is, the Tibetan system has kind of taken things from Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, which preceded it in a particular kind of way, and have used that. So yes, those components are there in Tibetan medicine as well.
Okay, because of time, I want to make sure that you cover the things in the presentation that you'd like to cover. So other folks, I'm sorry we can't take audio questions at this time, but we'll check in with you all at the break. And if people have questions, we can work with them at the beginning of the next section.
All right, so we will begin the next section with the points. I went through the preliminaries about finding points and about the applying the pressure and general contraindications. To know that this also does affect, people who are working with counselors and things like that. So it has the healing ability for not only relaxation of the body, but it also has a very positive effect on the mind, and tensions are released. So when the body relaxes, your mind also relaxes. And for those people who are in the midst of doing therapy, sometimes it helps to use these points. When we go over them, you'll see the physical application, the mental application, and even the spiritual application of the points that we're going to be covering. So I think now we should probably take a break. Is it break time?
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, we are at the top of the hour, and we have one more hour for our presentation. So yes, this would be a good time. We thank you, Lama, for the first part of the teaching, and we're going to pause the recording, and I'll show you a few pictures of the KTC under construction, and you can kind of see what your dollars are going towards. So thank you. Okay, Lama, we're ready to begin again.
All right, I'm going to see if I can put up a, do I have a screen share situation with you?
Yes, Lama, you're a co-host now, so you should be able to screen share.
All right. Let's see if this works. Yes, good. Can everyone see that?
Not yet, Lama. Did it give you an option to choose different screens from your computer?
Oh, select screen, yes. Let's see if this does it. Is it up now?
I still just see your video and not your presentation.
All right.
This looks promising.
Is that on?
Yes.
Okay. This is the first point that we're going to do. It's called bubbling spring. It's the entry point of the kidney meridian, kidney 1. And this is the entry point of the chi of the kidney. And it is a point that we talk about in martial arts as well. It is a point that grounds us and that we feel supported. And so this is on the sole of the foot, as it says, between the second and third metatarsal in the depression when the toes are flexed. So if you were to bring your toe, flex your toes as if you're scrunching your foot, and right in that place where it you'll see a fold in the just underneath the. Right, pretty much where it looks like there. See if you can palpate. For those of you who are in a position to do that, I'd like for you to try to find that point. And it may be tender, and do it. These points are bilateral, so do it on both sides, and you may find one point on one side more tender than the other. So flex the toes, and then find that point that is in the biggest hollow when you flex your toes. So the functions and indications for the use of this point, it tonifies the kidneys. It enriches the yin. So we have yin and yang. I mentioned that a little bit. This is a yin year. So enhancing yin is important. Things are going to be a little slower this year. Yin is more relaxed, more at ease. Should be anyway. It's calm. So this helps to calm. You know, often we go at such a rate that we exhaust our yin energy, particularly our kidneys. Our adrenals get exhausted from stress. So this helps, enriches the yin, calms the spirit, treats urogenital dysfunction. This meridian runs right up through the groin area. So cystitis, infertility, bladder infections, those kinds of things, night sweats, hot flashes, those are considered yin deficiencies. So for people who are having, women in particular, having night sweats, hot flashes, irregular menstruation, this is a wonderful point. Dryness in general, impotence, and this is a point for hypertension. This is one of those points that is because of the kidney deficiency. In yin, the yang is exuberant, and yang does in the body what it does anywhere else. You can think that yang is heat, and heat rises up. So it can give us, hypertension. It can give us pain in the shoulders. It can give us dryness in the eyes and things like that. Back pain. The kidneys are in the back under the ribs, protected. And so one of the big deals is hydration. And unfortunately, a lot of us are dehydrated. So rule of thumb is your weight in half, that many ounces of water or fluid a day. And if you drink coffee or you drink other kinds of caffeinated things, that's a diuretic. It makes you pee more. So you actually have to use more fluids. And when we're talking about constipation, that is a problem. Dehydration is a big problem with constipation. So remembering to stay hydrated is a very important health consideration. So it tonifies the kidneys. The essence is, we're born with a certain quality of qi. And this helps to maintain our qi and not exhaust it. Unfortunately, when we work ourselves, we don't get enough sleep, is yin enhancing and very important to the kidneys as well. Those big, dark circles you have under your eyes indicates the kidney deficiency. Another thing that indicates kidney deficiency is your hair falling out or receding hairlines. That is also associated with kidney deficiencies. So night sweats, hot flashes, irregular menstruation, headache. Headache can come from a variety of things, but dehydration is certainly one of those things, and kidney deficiency is one of those things, and the other ones. So mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects. Water is so important. We always use it ceremoniously, for cleansing and purification. So as it says, cleanses and refreshes the body, mind, emotions, and spirit, flushing out the old, stagnant, revitalizing the energy, pacifying fear issues. So the emotion associated with the water element, this is the kidney and bladder are associated with the water element. Fear is the emotion associated with this. So that can be anxiety, it can be fears of all kinds, revitalizes the energy, pacifies fear issues, maintains emotional fluidity. Sometimes when we get stressed, we become frozen, really. We become immobile. We just can't move. And that means not only physically, but mentally, we can't make decisions. We can't go forward. We're stuck. I mentioned fear. This is also associated with the knees. And you may know the cartoon characters, when they get afraid or they get scared, their knees will shake. In a similar way, our knees are sensitive to kidney deficiencies, and pain in the knees is often associated again with this imbalance. It enhances a sense of self-control, assists in our continuous flow, to be able to be in the flow through our life with grace and ease, as it says. Bubbling spring. Where I am right now, we have many different springs in Gainesville and North Central Florida. It is really one of the highlights of this area. And being out in the springs, kayaking is one of my favorite things to do. The water is crystal clear. It's always 72 degrees, no matter what. And it's very refreshing when we have our, when it's 100 degrees outside here in Florida. And it is like that. It's refreshing. And we have to get enough sleep. We have to nourish ourselves, and we have to get enough fluids to maintain the proper yin balance. Unfortunately, our yin gets used up, as I say, by overactivity. Too much yang diminishes our yin. It exhausts the yin. The yin can't keep up with the yang energy in excess. So our nervous system, is our parasympathetic nervous system would be associated with yin, and that's what calms us down. And often we can't sleep because we are so keyed up. So nourishing this point helps in many ways to enhance the yin. Has everyone found the point? Any questions about that point? If not, we'll go on.
Yeah, I see no questions about that point, Lama.
Okay. Next point is one of my favorite points. It's a liver point, liver 3. It's our second point here, but it is on the acupuncture meridians that you, if you have, you will find it. Each of these points has a number and a name. So it's number 3 on the liver channel, the liver meridian. And I like to call it happy calm. And people come in and they say, do my happy calm point, because they feel so more relaxed and at ease. And this does help with sleep as well. Often our liver gets agitated from over planning, decision making. And if you wake between 1 and 3 in the morning, that is liver time. And if you look at the clock and you are habitually awake during that time, or you wake up for a brief time, that is your liver being a little bit out of sorts. And this point is very helpful. So it's located on the dorsal surface of the foot in the angle between the first and second metatarsal, just as it shows there. Just walk your finger up from the big toe up along until you hit that point. This is often tender. So do it bilaterally and see if there's any tenderness. And if so, just apply a little pressure or tap, or just bring your finger to the point and imagine that brilliant light going into the point and energizing it. So this regulates and tonifies the liver, invigorates the blood. The liver's job is to hold blood and move blood. And if it is not doing its job, then we have liver blood stagnation. This can affect the eyes very dramatically. So tired, itchy, dry eyes are often a symptom of this. Transforms damp heat. Damp heat is like a bladder infection. It's usually in the lower burner. And so that is a particular diagnostic in Asian medicine, damp heat. It drains liver heat. So when we have that excess heat, as I was mentioning, heat in the body does what it does anywhere else. It will rise up and cause dryness, a dry mouth, dryness in the sinuses, dryness in the eyes, headaches, all kinds of secondary problems. Regulates gallbladder and menstruation, relax the sinews. The sinews are the ligaments and tendons, the connective tissue. It treats headaches, dizziness, hepatitis is inflammation of the liver, and jaundice. So again, goes with liver problems. Hernia. So ligaments and tendons are commanded by the liver as well. So aches and pains, particularly in the joints. The sinews are those places where the tendons are where the muscles join the bone, and tendons and ligaments bind bone to bone, but they are all nourished by the liver. Treats headaches, dizziness, hepatitis, jaundice, menopausal symptoms, insomnia. This is, as I was mentioning before, a quintessential point for insomnia. Dysmenorrhea, problems with your menstrual cycle. Stomach or gastric pain. People were asking about digestive problems. So the liver is like a big enzyme factory, and if it's not doing its job, it gets affected as we get older. Sometimes we need digestive enzymes. And if we have had our gallbladder removed, we don't have that storage place for bile to digest fats in particular. You may need a digestive enzyme to help with that. Or gastric pain, nausea, vomiting, premenstrual tension, hypertension, eye diseases. As I mentioned, eyes are very much associated with the liver. And the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects, as it says, are good for the person who is stressed and who is not stressed. And usually, we get frustrated, irritated, and when our liver is not doing its job, we are more likely to express that in a negative way. So as it says, angered easily and is hot-headed. Used to sedate and calm, relieves depression and melancholia, improves mental acuity and focus, grants insight and the ability to plan, have vision, mental and emotional, spiritual flexibility. So we were saying this is the wood element, and often we associate the wood element with a tree being the kind of image of a wood element. And, you know, if our wood element is not in balance and healthy, then our limbs, just like a tree, become inflexible and can be damaged. Just like a tree, if the wind blows and this tree is not flexible and not getting dried out, the branches will break. And similarly, our connective tissue is not flexible. We'll have aches and pains and be inflexible. But that's not only physically, that means mentally and emotionally as well. The liver is the official of planning and decision making. So it grants us the capacity to make decisions and to plan. It gives us insight. You know, we say that it's good for mental acuity and focus and for vision, but that's not only physical vision. It is, again, for insight, being able to see down the road and to plan. You have to be able to have a vision. You have to be able to see down the road and know where you're going to be able to plan. So this gives us that capacity. In Chinese medicine or Asian medicine, the organs are seen as a family and they work together harmoniously, hopefully. And each of them are seen as an official of our body, mind, spirit, and each one has a particular job. We mentioned the kidneys. The kidneys are in charge of the water works, so to speak, and the liver is in charge of planning and decision making and works like a general in the field, commanding, you know, how things are done. It's a big organ, and again, it moves the blood, moves the chi, and it gives us the sense of calm and is associated with with patience when it is in balance. We are patient. We're at ease. We're not frustrated, irritated, and easily angered. Any question? Everyone find the liver 3-point.
Lama, there is a question that has arisen while we're discussing. The question is, what body system is indicated by routinely waking between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m.?
That is lung time.
Did you say lungs?
Lung time, yes.
Okay, okay.
And we will come to a point there, and I will give the times. This is 1 and 3 for the liver. That's the wood element, and the liver is at its peak between 1 and 3, and then it goes into decline. And between 1 and 3 p.m. is its low time. So there's a diurnal, 24-hour diurnal cycle that there's a peak and a low time. And that is the peak time actually for the liver. So if it's in excess, which it often is because it's overburdened and there's heat, then 1 to 3 would be the time that we wake up. To answer the question, the next meridian in line after that is the lung meridian, and that would be the 3 to 5 time.
Mm-hmm. There are 2 additional questions. Should we save them until a little later in the presentation, or?
Yeah, let's go ahead so we can see how far along. Time just marches on, you know.
I understand. Okay, I've got them on my radar, and we'll get to them next time through.
Okay, yeah, we won't neglect them, but we'll keep some time for questions. All right, so let's move down here and see what we have next. Foot above tears, we're not going to do that one. As I say, there are 36 points here that we're going to have to select maybe a third of those. And if we have time, we will see what we can add. I think we will do Kunlun Mountains. This is such a good point for low back pain. and a lot of people suffer with low back pain. So this is right on the top of the calcaneus, your heel bone, between the tendons, as it says, midway between the lateral malleolus. Lateral means on the medial side. Oh, I'm sorry, on the outside. Lateral, the lateral malleolus. That's that big bone, that big hump that you have there. So midway between the lateral malleolus and the Achilles tendon, on the superior edge of the calcaneum. So that is that heel bone. So if you press in right at the top of the heel bone and slightly down on that bone, you'll feel the point. So midway between the lateral malleolus, that's on the outside of the foot, between the lateral malleolus and the Achilles tendon. That's that large tendon on the back of the ankle there. On the superior edge, the top edge of the heel bone or the calcaneum. So this functions to strengthen the back in general. And a lot of low back pain is due to stagnation of this urinary bladder meridian, which is the longest meridian in the body. There are 67 points. This is the complement of the kidney energy. So the bladder is the yang channel and kidneys are the yin channel. But this particular point, Kunlun Mountain, strengthens the back, relaxes the sinews. So it relaxes particularly the lower back and the buttocks in back of the leg. There's different kinds of sciatic pain. Some runs along the side of the leg, some of it on the back of the leg. This one would be the one that you feel the pain on the back of the leg. And it can be right from the buttocks all the way down through the calf. So this relaxes the sinews and facilitates chi and blood flow, invigorates the blood. It affects the stiffness and pain along the spine, sciatica. So the sciatic nerve, people have experienced sciatic pain, ankle and heel pain, back spasms. And this meridian begins in the inner canthus of the eye, makes two passes along the back and ends at the little toe, 67 points. So again, it's the longest meridian in the body, and each of these, this point is the fire point. There was a question about, are they associated with different, there's different elemental points. This is the fire point. So it helps to warm the water and make it, you probably like to have, if your back is hurting, to take a hot shower or put warmth on your back. So this is like putting the hot pad on your back. This is the fire point in the bladder meridian. So it relaxes the mind, warms and soothes the spirit, enhances emotional warmth and compassion, removes fear and paralysis at all levels. So if we were mentioning about the kidneys and the bladder and the water element, sometimes we get frozen and paralyzed. We can't literally move mentally, physically, emotionally. We're paralyzed with fear. So this helps to warm that, to balance that situation. Fear is the emotion associated with both the bladder and the kidneys. Where anger is associated with the wood element, fear is associated with the water element. Any question about that? Everyone find the point okay. Top of the calcaneum between the tendons.
Lama, I do have a question about that. When you say it's on the superior edge, does that mean that that it's on the part of the foot or the ankle that is pointed toward the inside of the body or toward the outside of the body?
Well, it's on the outside of the outer malleolus. We have the inner medial malleolus and we have the lateral malleolus. Lateral is on the
Got it.
outside, medial is on the inside. So those two big bones there, if we just
Mhm.
that bone towards the back of the foot towards the Achilles tendon, and then right against the top of the calcaneus.
So this would, yeah, so it's not on top of the Achilles tendon, it's to one side of the Achilles tendon and is on what we would call the outside of the body, meaning pointing away from the center of the body,
Yeah,
facing away from.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and Lama, there is one additional question that came through, and will this handout be made available after the program?
the handout won't, but we have this here. They just have to review this. I can send you. Well, actually, I think we just have to review this.
Okay, we'll see if we can't find a way to put that together for folks, and we'll do that during during the break between this program and the next program. We'll try to get that done, and if we
Okay,
can't
we
get
should
that done, we'll get something else done.
We should be able to do that.
Okay.
Any other questions about this point before we go on?
Okay, so far so good.
All right, good. So this, we are going to do spleen 6. This is, it's called 3 yin crossing because it is the reunion point of the kidney, liver, and spleen. So in one fell swoop, we can treat all of those particular meridians. Reunion points are places where meridians conjoin. And this is a very powerful point, consequently, because we can affect 3 meridians at this particular site. So it's 3 anatomical inches. So you have the perfect ruler for this. It is done by, if you have your, you can see my hand, this space is 3 anatomical inches from, across the knuckles. So if you were to put your hand down and the lower finger is on the malleolus, this is medial malleolus now. And where the upper finger is, that would be 3 anatomical inches. And if you just come off the edge of the tibia, that large bone, it's going to be there. So 3 anatomical, or as it says, acupuncture Chinese inches, ACI, above the medial malleolus on the superior, on the posterior edge of the tibia. Posterior is toward the back. So just as the slide indicates, it's just in back of that large bone, the tibia. Okay. So it regulates and strengthens and fortifies the spleen. This is a spleen point, earth element, and fortifies the spleen, harmonizes the stomach, nourishes the liver, and enriches the kidneys. Those are the 3 meridians that are harmonized at this point. Spleen and stomach as well, because spleen and stomach share energy. And the 2 other meridians, the liver and the kidneys. So this also reduces stagnation, digestive stagnation and dampness, and enriches yin. But the next thing that it says regulates menstruation, this is for problems with menstruation, this is a very good point. Treats pancreatitis, insomnia, edema, night sweats, dizziness, lower abdominal fullness, distension and pain, gas, indigestion, bloating, diarrhea, hepatitis, vaginal discharge, painful or restricted urination, prostatitis, menopausal syndrome. That's the same kind of thing we were talking about, the night sweats, hot flashes. This does enhance yin as well. Menstrual irregularities, infertility, sterility, difficult delivery. So this is called 3 yin crossing because it is the reunion point of the 3 yin meridians of the lower leg, or of the leg. How are we doing with this? Everyone able to keep up with it all right?
I'm not seeing comments, but folks, if you are having any difficulties in keeping up, do let us know.
And this is bilateral, so I'm going to ask you, to use this time to try to palpate the point and identify the point on yourself for future reference. This is a good time to see, and if you have any questions about it. So 3 anatomical inches above the malleolus and just posterior to the tibia. So some of these words, you may not be useful, these anatomical words, but it's pretty straightforward. But if you do have questions, please go ahead and ask. So mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects helps to get the person moving again. Sometimes we can really be couch potatoes, and the earth element is known for that. It's a little bit slow going. So this helps you get up and moving when you feel stuck. And this can be, again, hard to get going physically, but also mentally. Depression, self-pity, poor me syndrome. Helps to relieve mental or spiritual blockages and frees them up. Good for grounding. This is earth element, so it does ground, center, and balance you.
Lama, there's one quick question. The juncture of the 3 that come together is it spleen, kidneys, and liver?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Spleen, kidneys, and liver. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, let's go on. Leg 3 miles. This is one of the more commonly used points and a very important point. So as it says, so we said that, across the knuckles is 3 anatomical inches. So below the lateral edge, that's the outer edge of the tibia. The picture indicates it there, but it is just below the kneecap. And there's a little where the tibia begins to turn a little bit. If you're palpating up the tibia on the lateral side, it just kind of takes a turn. Where it begins to turn into the head of the tibia, that's where the point is. So it's called leg 3 miles because this is also known as the sea of energy. And the Chinese army would use it to go the extra distance when they were hiking or they were on a march and they were running out of steam. You could palpate this point and release a little more energy to go the extra distance, to go the extra 3 miles. So that's where that name came from. Stomach 36, leg 3 miles, 3 anatomical inches below the lateral edge of the tibia. So this regulates and strengthens and fortifies the spleen, harmonizes the stomach, and tonifies the nutritive chi and blood. So when we were asked about, what is good for digestion, this is the supreme point for any digestive problems. And along with large intestine 4, which we will get to along the way, these are called the 4 gates. Stomach 36, again, it's bilateral, and large intestine 4, which I demonstrated or showed you on my, between the thumb and the index finger. These are also seas of energy and are used conjoined to enhance overall vitality. So this is treats gastric pain, gastrointestinal problems, and pretty much in general, as it says, diarrhea, dysentery, dysmenorrhea, stomach and duodenal ulcers, stomach ache, vomiting, indigestion, knee joint pain, and lower leg stiffness and pain, cramping and fatigue. A wonderful point. And the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects, it brings about greater mental, emotional, and spiritual stability, revitalizes the energy at all levels, giving greater endurance and longevity, removes laziness, apathy, and despair, relieves anxiety, worry, depression. And this one definitely gets the person moving forward again. It's the, as it is said, the get up and go point.
Lama, there are 2 questions.
Okay.
They both deal with surgical interventions and the repercussions from them. A person says, I have a number of metal parts, from accidents embedded in the right leg. From what you say, the meridians are probably messed up. What can I do to help that?
Well, the body is amazing at creating shunting the energy through. But it is true that injury, accidents, surgeries, those kinds of things do create blocks in there. And if you do have access, and if you certainly have problems like we're talking about here, then seeing an acupuncturist can help to shunt the energy through. If there's an obvious scar across there, where some surgery was done, that can impede the flow of qi and blood in certain areas. But the body is very forgiving and accommodating, but it is always good to see your acupuncturist, both preventatively and curatively. And ultimately, you know, if you're in good shape, even the change of the seasons is a good time to get a tune-up. That is the time when the energy begins to shift from different different elements, and so it is a good time to balance the qi of the body. So even if it's 4 or 5 times a year, that's very helpful. But if you have a problem that can be associated certainly with the medical procedures, then there are ways that we can reduce the negative side effects or correct it.
I do have a couple of quick ones. I have had a past knee surgery at the medial meniscus. Any things I should know?
No, there could, I mean, trauma can occur. I mean, that's a very common injury. I would do these points, particularly around the knees. And if you're not having a problem, great. Sometimes there's a weakness there that predisposed you to that injury, but sometimes there can be traumas and we just overexert or zig when we should have zagged. And there are different surgical procedures based on 1st, 2nd, or 3rd degree tears. But just doing the points around the knees, or like we do in Tai Chi, just to make circles around your knees with your hand, and you can stimulate the flow of qi and blood in that area to accentuate the energy in that area. But using the finger pressure in the same way around the kneecap or around the area where you had the problem. If you find a sensitive place, it may not be a point that we use, but just bring a little energy with the palm of your hand. Place. That's kind of the first thing we do. If we have pain, we usually kind of touch it, put our hand on it. We naturally kind of massage it to help it. That is kind of instinctual. So just bring a little energy to that place, bring your focus to that place, have the intention of bringing energy there, and that will be helpful.
A third question, is the 3 miles leg point good for Crohn's disease?
I would use a large intestine point more than a stomach point for that.
Okay, Lama?
Yes, so the large intestine point that we're going to do would probably be better for that. We're not going to do that one. We're not going to do that one. We're not going to do that one. We might do Heavenly Pillar. So on the back of the head, as it says here, the posterior surface of the neck, 1 ACI lateral to the midline. So just come out, about an inch, and there's a little depression in the occiput there, on the border of the trapezius, where it joins the occiput, below the base of the occiput. That the point is found there. So this point is called Heavenly Pillar. And I'm suggesting we do this because you're meditators, you're on a spiritual path. This is what is called a window of the sky. And it has strong spiritual implications as well. But it is a place where we often store tension. So as it says, functions and indications, opens the sensory orifices, clears heat, strengthens the muscles and tendons, window of the sky point. That means if sometimes we get, it's like opening a window to get some fresh air, to have a different view, to get insight. Window of the sky. It treats occipital headache and pain, stiff neck, nasal congestion as well, and shoulder and back pain, blurry vision, whiplashes, and not uncommon, and this can be helpful in that situation, along with other traumatic neck injuries, dim vision, inability to smell. So that's one of the COVID, the signs, you know, we lose our taste and smell. It'd be interesting, I have not used that for that reason, but it might be interesting to bring back that smell. But the window of the sky has a strong spiritual implications, as I said. It's a support or pillar for those who may be overwhelmed and afraid to see or hear or feel what is needed to move on in life. Enables one to cope by strengthening resolve and spiritual insight. So we're adding this one to our list. And this one, you can just tap on the back of the skull. And gallbladder 20 is right next to it. It's the bladder point was 1 anatomical inches is about 1.5. It's a little bit wider. And while you're up there, you can just do this point as well. This helps to dispel exterior conditions such as wind. It's called wind pond or wind palace. And that is for wind invasion. Some of you may not like the wind when you're in a draft or, you know, you're sitting at a restaurant when we used to go to restaurants. And you're under a fan, you may feel uncomfortable. That is a place where wind invades. And wind cold invasion is the source of colds and flus and a variety of other things, particularly if our Wei Qi, our protective Qi that we have, that is reduced because we're tired, we're exhausted, and our protective Qi is not as strong as it could be. Then we're vulnerable. And your mother, you may remember your mother saying, don't go out if you just washed your hair and it's wet because it's cold. And she's right. You don't want to have cold there, particularly in a wind situation where that will chill that area. So it dispels exterior conditions such as wind, cold, heat, relaxes the sinews and facilitates the flow of Qi, brightens the eyes. So we're doing both those points right on the edge of the occiput. Supports emotional openness on the mental level, brings clarity. This is, again, the liver and gallbladder share energy, so it opens the senses and augments our perception at all levels. Shoulder well, we won't do. 16 we won't do. I think we'll go right to we're running out of time here. I do like this this point, so we're going to do conception vessel 17. Most of these other points have been bilateral. This one is on the conception vessel, so it is on the midline, as it says, on the midline of the chest between the nipples. At the level of the fourth intercostal space. But it's about 2/3 of the way down the sternum. So as you palpate down, I mean, nipples can be in various places. That's not a really good indicator of where that point might be. I would just palpate along and see if you have a tender spot. And then you can just put your hand over it, the middle of your hand over that point, or you can tap it and bring some energy to that place. It is also a reunion point of the organs of the upper chow. So we have 3 burning spaces, upper, middle, and lower. So this is the lungs, the heart, and the pericardium. Pericardium is a sac that surrounds the heart, protects it from trauma and shock, injury, and accident. And sometimes someone says something to us that really takes us back, or we hear about the death of somebody that really takes us back, and we get shocked. That affects our pericardium, which it's like the bodyguard for the heart. And the heart is the only official that has this kind of protection to it. And the pericardium is the sac that surrounds the heart, literally protects it from trauma and shock. But we have a mental, emotional pericardium as well that protects us from those emotional traumas that may hit us unexpectedly that we're not ready for, and it can shock us. So it regulates the lungs, the upper burner, expands and relaxes the chest, regulates and tonifies the chi of the entire body, quiets the spirit, treats asthma, cough, chest depression, wheezing, labored breathing, insufficient milk, heart palpitations. So a deep connection with the heart, the monarch of the body. So we said that the body is like a kingdom of our body, mind, spirit. And each of these officials have their job in relation to this kingdom. And the heart is the supreme controller. It is the monarch of the body, mind, spirit. So it's used to bring about emotional balance, calms the spirit, restores a sense of well-being and contentment and satisfaction. I like that point. I use it frequently. So I think we're going to probably have to leave it with large intestine 4. So this is the point that I was pointing out to you on the dorsal surface of the hand, in the angle between the first and second metacarpals, but it is in that, it's called joining of the valleys, and it is right in that fleshy part. You can bring a person to their knees if you really press on that point too hard. It can be very, very painful. But I think as you palpate there, you will find the little depression in that spot. That is not the greatest picture, but I think you get the idea of where it's located. Large intestine 4. Dorsal surface of the hand in the angle between the first and second metacarpals. It resolves the exterior and dispels wind, moistens dryness, opens the orifices, regulates and tonifies chi, alleviates pain. It's called the great pain eliminator. So for pain anywhere in the body, it's helpful. Relaxes the sinews. I think that's supposed to be expedites the labor, not expediates. Clears the nose. So this meridian, as I was mentioning, ends at a point called welcome fragrance at the end of the number 20, next to the nose. Relaxes the sinews. Let's see, treats headache, toothache, sore throat, facial paralysis, pain, tonsillitis, common cold, arm pain, swelling, diarrhea, sinusitis. I would use this. The question was about colitis or different aspects. There's a small intestine point as well, but you could use this one because it does alleviate pain for that condition as well. So it insists of letting go. This is large intestine. Its job is to get rid of toxic waste and to allow us to get rid of what we don't need anymore. So it assists in letting go of what is no longer beneficial or toxic in body, mind, emotion, spirit. We have, we're always taking things in, and our body, both we take it in, but we need to let go of things that we don't need anymore. Toxic emotions, old beliefs and ideas that have long been have outworn their usefulness. So it assists in letting go, no longer beneficial and toxic in body, mind, emotions, and spirit. Brings calmness, hope, and revitalization. Relieves emotional holding, anger, depression, grief, guilt. A wonderful point. This one, along with stomach 36, is a very good point. And I don't think we can go much further here, but I hope this was useful. These are some very important points that you can use on yourself and others. And if you want more, if you choose to do that, we could do another session along the way and include more points. But we do have a lot to go. Our next one was going to be the I Ching and Mo. Clearly, I didn't have enough time to do that. And all of these, could be weekend workshops in themselves. So it is a matter of how much time you want to spend. I'm fine in spending as much time as you want to do it. It's a pleasure for me. And I think hopefully it's of value to you. So I wanted to leave some time, Lama, for you to talk a little bit about where you are in the construction and encourage everyone to make their donations and to keep their prayers going for the successful completion of Columbus KTC. So I thank you for your time and attention, and we'll meet again. We'll find a time to continue our study of the golden eight-petaled lotus.
Thank you so much, Lama Losang. There were a couple of other questions, and let's see if we can deal with one of them quickly. One of them was, are these pages that you're showing in a book that is currently available?
Well, this is a book that I put together and I was teaching from, and I do these points. It's a book of 36 points, and it is being revamped. I do have some extra ones that we can get to you.
Right.
When I say some, I mean 2 or 3. I've gone through all of the ones that I have, but I am redoing it in a little better format, actually with better pictures, and it's an updated version.
Got it. And there were 2 other questions. One of them is they're both about the metal and elemental energy, and the person is asking that is there anything special that a person who has been born in an iron ox year, as the questioner is there anything special they need to be doing this year?
Yeah, actually, usually it's considered an obstacle year. I mean, Karmapa and myself are both ox. I'm an earth ox. And it is seen as an obstacle year, but it is, for the ox, this year is not so bad. It's, we got off light. So it is said that, because the lungs can be affected, to just take care, make sure that you're hydrating properly, make sure that, having an air purifier to purify your air. What we might see in this ox year is an increase in pollution. Both the earth is also affected during this time, and we may see actually volcanoes and earthquakes, which we've already seen. I think an earthquake this year, and some other problems that could affect the air quality. So in your home, make sure that the air quality is good, and that you just take good care of yourself, and that you're nourishing yourself and keeping yourself strong. But we have a fairly good time of it, as again, being the ox year, it could be worse. But we're in pretty good shape. And it depends again on your own personal how everything else relates. But overall, the song remains the same. Just be vigilant, and but I would be particularly careful about your air quality.
Okay, that's good. And then the other person,
particularly molds and things like that in the house, you may be really sensitive to problems, both, as I was saying, with skin allergies and other kinds of allergic things. That's why I say a good air purifier. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree about the air purifier. I had to get one this year, and it was a real help for me.
Yes.
But there is one other question that a person asked, which was, if you were born in a specific year and that year had an element, is it good to surround yourself with items from that element to help balance your energy?
No, you want to have, all the elements. When we look at feng shui, there are different complementary colors and elements that you want to have balanced. So not too much metal, but some there. And we are going to do feng shui along the way here. I think that's after we do the next one. And we'll talk more about, the feng shui of your house and location of different things you can do to improve your health and well-being. But do some reading on feng shui and the colors of the different textures of what you paint or what you have in your house that can affect the quality of your vitality.
And thank you, Lama. And I think what we can do is folks who are on the call today, feel welcome to email me either through the Eventbrite link saying contact the organizer, or through the email address I provided at the top, which is Lama Kathy, all one word with a K, at columbusktc.org, and let us know your feedback, and if you would like to have a separate additional session regarding points and other questions. What we may end up doing, Lama, is we may end up inviting you back for a couple of hours of free-for-all on several different subjects. So
That's fine. Yes, we can do as much as you like. So
okay.
It's good for me. It's good for you. And
Yeah. And if folks have feedback, you can provide it to one of those two channels. We're going to stop the recording now and I'll say thank you to everyone on behalf of Columbus KTC.